Welcome to Nigeria. So have you heard about MMM? Father! Don't tell me you've not heard about MMM. Some of you are lying. You've been doing MMM. Anyway, the way it works is that they tell you to deposit money into somebody's account, a total stranger that you don't know, and then you upload the teller online to prove that you've deposited the money, and then you start acquiring points, and then you would request for help. So another subscriber will be instructed to deposit money into your own account. In fact, in like 10 days they will pay back your money, including like a 30% extra, and then in some cases they will even give you dollars on top of the extra 30%. Or someone was telling me that they gave her additional $50. And keep in mind, if you have been introducing people to MMM, as they are paying these people 30%, they will pay you 10% of whatever they pay other people that you recruit. So you understand? So a lot of people have been making money from MMM. So Nigerians are really into MMM and people are making real money.
This rich mutual fund scheme is really changing lives. I provided help of 180,000. I got 318,000 naira.
I provided help of 400,000 on the 27th of June, and I got help of 502 on the 20th of July. It was a wonderful experience.
MMM has really changed in my life. My name is Adeola. I'm one of the beneficiaries of MMM.
My name is Eunice, an MMM participant from Warri. So excited to be part of this MMM community. MMM rocks and MMM pays for real.
You see what I'm saying? How cool is that? Very exciting, no? So, especially because of the recession, you guys know that things are very hard right now. So more than 2 million Nigerians have already signed up for MMM. In fact, we now have our own version of MMM. They call it NNN. Look at that, MMM, NNN. And like I said, a lot of people have made money from this thing. So how can you tell people that it's a scam when they have the money in their bank account to prove that it works? You know that the police have released a statement that people should not participate in MMM. In fact, the Senate, the House of Representatives, they've warned against putting your money in MMM. Even the Security and Exchange Commission of Nigeria, as well as CBN, they are all against it. They said that MMM is not licensed to accept deposits. You guys know that any institution that receives deposits in Nigeria is supposed to be licensed by the CBN according to the law. But Nigerians are just laughing at CBN, the police, and all these people. They're laughing at them. In fact, many MMM subscribers believe that the Nigerian government is just trying to prevent them from making money. They believe that the government wants them to borrow from the bank. That is why they are trying to stop them from subscribing to MMM.
So many stories have been going online relating to MMM, people seeing it as a scam. But it makes me laugh. The Chibok girls, they are there, they've not looked for them. The problem now is all about MMM. They know that if MMM continues in 2 years' time, then nobody will go to the bank to get loan. Because why? Everyone will be financially free.
This is a message strongly to Central Bank of Nigeria. MMM Nigeria have been treating us good. You have failed. You cannot deprive us from being financially stable.
Mind your business. Mind your business. Talk about mine. Mind your business. I borrow money. Mind your business. To do MMM. Mind your business. Oh, mind your business. Mind your business.
They're not talking about me, by the way. They are talking to the Nigerian government. They said you should mind your business. I love the song. I love the harmony. These people, they are really good. Anyway, now that I've told you guys that you can make money from MMM, I think it would be very bad of me. I think it would be terrible of me not to tell you the whole truth. So it's true that you can make money from MMM, but you can also lose money. In fact, you can lose all of your money. Now, the full meaning of MMM is Mavrodi Mennikova. In case you're wondering what that is, it's nothing but names. These are just the surnames, the last names of 2 brothers and 1 friend that started this Ponzi scheme. Now, the 3 of them had started several businesses in the past using the name MMM. The name of their company is MMM, and it all failed. They were bankrupt. They were in a lot of debt, and then they decided to start this scheme in 1994. So it's not as if they started MMM because they wanted to help people. These guys were broke. They needed money. They were looking for how to make money. That was how they started MMM. They're from Russia, and this was during the Russian hyperinflation. That's a 7-year period of uncontrollable spiraling inflation that Russia experienced. Everything was so expensive at that time in Russia. So things were really, really hard. A lot of people in Russia were desperate at that time. They were willing to do anything. So word started spreading that if you put your money into MMM, you will make money back with 30% extra. Before you knew what was happening, they were even advertising MMM on TV in Russia. People were investing so much money into MMM that the MMM office started filling rooms with cash, as in it was no longer a question of how much have we made, it was a question of how many rooms have we filled, literally. In fact, when they arrested him, the SWAT team apparently took out 17 trucks filled with cash.
The journalist Marina made an investigation that when the SWAT came, they sealed the office and took out 17 trucks of cash.
Do you see why Nigerians would gladly embrace MMM as well? Because we are also going through something similar to what Russia was going through at the time. We are going through inflation and we have a major recession right now. There is no job. A lot of people have not been paid their salaries for months. That's why millions of Nigerians are really interested in MMM. But do you know what happened in Russia after everybody rushed in? Everything was going well. People were making money. And you know that the more they made, the more they invested. And the more people invested in MMM. Sure, you understand? The main founder was arrested for tax evasion. In the end, MMM owed between 50 million to 1.5 billion US dollars, as in money that they refused to pay back.
MMM, a familiar acronym for many Russians and probably the largest fraud case Russia has ever seen. Manipulating people's ignorance and their desire to get rich quick, he founded a company which in fact was a huge financial pyramid,
which left more than 1 million Russians without their life savings.
As a matter of fact, 50 people committed suicide in Russia because they lost everything. Now, nobody is trying to scare you. You can read about this on the internet. It's everywhere. I'm just telling you what happened. These are some of the people that lost their money, by the way. About 20,000 of them camped outside the MMM headquarters in Moscow, hoping that they would get their money back. MMM had issued them share certificates that looked like banknotes. That's what some of them are holding. And you know, they just realized that the certificate meant nothing. That's why some of them are tearing it apart. The main founder was arrested and they put him in prison. But while he was in prison, the guy is very smart, by the way. He's a mathematician. His name is Sergei Mavrodi. But while he was in prison, he got signatures from people for him to be elected into the State Duma. The State Duma is like the parliament in Russia. He did that because he knows that getting into the State Duma comes with immunity. So he was able to get immunity. I'm not sure why people would vote for him, but the truth of the matter is he had a lot of supporters, people that genuinely believed that the government was trying to prevent them from making money, especially from those that made a lot of money from the MMM. And then he got immunity, so they had to release him from prison. But then he was expelled from the parliament.
Mavrodi was even elected to the Russian State Duma and received political immunity from prosecution, but just a year later, he was stripped of his status.
And once he was expelled from parliament, he declared bankruptcy on December 22, 1997. And because he had declared bankruptcy, the government couldn't force him to pay people back their money. So he declared bankruptcy, and as soon as he did that, he disappeared. He was on the run. He was hiding until they arrested him in 2003. Now come and see how people were throwing eggs at him. People were so angry with this man because him and his friends, they stole their savings. And then he moved to the US, and the US convicted him of fraud. And then in 2007, he was jailed in Moscow for 4 years. They took him to a remote prison, and he was in prison for 4 years. The guy is so smart that even in prison, he was writing a book. Anyway, after his release, he was broke, of course. And then he decided to start MMM again. This time around, he called it MMM 2011. That was when he was released. So he called it MMM 2011, trying to repackage the whole thing. And this time around, he declared it an open Ponzi scheme. He wasn't even hiding it. And the following year, he froze the operation, and that means that all the people that had invested their money after that 1 year, you know, people were enjoying it for a whole year. He made a lot of money, and he just suddenly announced that no more payout. They interviewed him. He said he didn't lie to people, that he already made it clear that it's a risk, that you can make money or you can lose money.
I have never deceived anyone. Neither do I deceive now. I honestly say that this is a pyramid. You can lose your money. There are certain risks, no guarantees, no promises. What's the crime here?
You see what I mean? And in an interview, Sergey told the Moscow Times that he pays earlier participants with the money invested by later participants. And then he told them that there is no promise of profit. And then he went to India and he started MMM India, started MMM China, Indonesia, as well as South Africa, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe. And now we have MMM in Nigeria as well. By the way, it crashed in South Africa, but they are starting it again. It has collapsed in Zimbabwe. Lesotho, thousands of people have lost their savings. In fact, when it crashed in South Africa, the ridiculous thing is that they kept telling subscribers to deposit more money and recruit more people. They were telling them that is how they will be able to restart their system. So despite the fact that Russia, the US, several countries are warning people about this man. I mean, the man is from Russia, right? And his own country is telling the whole world that the guy is a criminal. We put him in prison for the same business that you are signing up for. Yet, people are going ahead. Do you guys know that right now, more than 138 million people from 107 countries have signed up for MMM? In fact, it is now the 5th most visited website in Nigeria. Facebook is number 6. Now, let me say to those that have subscribed to MMM and they've been making money, you know, those of you that have deposited money into a stranger's account and you've gotten alerts that certain amount has been deposited into your own account, do you ever wonder where this money is coming from when you did not buy or sell anything? Doesn't that sound suspicious to you? I mean, this is MMM Nigeria. These people said that they are the ones that started MMM Nigeria. Do these people look to you like they have money that they want to throw around? Or do you think they will just dip their hands into their own pocket to take out their personal money to give you the extra money that they are paying you after you deposit money into somebody's account? Where do you think that extra money is coming from? You know what I think? Let me tell you what I think. It is the money that they received from the people that they have scammed. So while you are rejoicing that MMM is real, MMM pays, I put down 60,000 naira, they paid me 100,000 naira, somebody somewhere just got an alert that their MMM account has been frozen. So they are crying while you are rejoicing.
Where is this so-called 30% return coming from? If this was a true stokvel or, sort of lending arrangement where people said, you know what, we're putting in the money, we all put in, and at the end of the year we distribute it, you wouldn't be getting a 30% return on that money. So surely that's a big signal to you. Someone is losing money.
The thing about karma though is that what goes around sometimes comes around. You may be enjoying MMM for months, but the day that your account will be frozen after you just paid a huge money into a stranger's account, you won't know until it happens. A lot of people have been scammed in Nigeria, by the way, and just because it didn't happen to anybody that you know directly doesn't mean that it's not happening. By the way, one Nigerian that was scammed documented everything. If you have time, you can read his article. At first he said that they were telling him that his account was under temporary moratorium. That means it was temporarily frozen. And then they said that he used a different bank account, and he said he has used the same bank account. And then they said, well, he didn't follow the rules. Anyway, he lost his money. There was a story recently of a student at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, that committed suicide. Apparently, the guy left a suicide note, and I really wish that the Nigerian police would release this note. They should publish it so we know exactly what happened. But according to the school authority that saw the note, he killed himself because he borrowed money from a lot of people and he gambled with the money and lost everything. So they didn't tell us exactly the kind of gamble, but he's been promoting MMM on his Facebook page for months. He posted this one in September. You know, when you tell people to sign up, if you recruit people, you get 10% of whatever they are getting. So he posted this in September. So I said all this just to tell anybody that is willing to listen. Yes, things are really hard right now. There's recession in Nigeria, there is inflation. If you are living in Zimbabwe, there is hyperinflation. But the truth of the matter is MMM is a gamble. It's not a business. Nothing is guaranteed. It's a gamble, one in which you can make money or you can lose money. And as a matter of fact, you can lose all your money. There's a trend. It works for about few months and then it would crash. In some cases, it would work for between 1 to 3 years and then it will crash. It crashed in Russia, China, it crashed in India, it crashed in South Africa, it crashed in Zimbabwe. If it has crashed everywhere else, what makes you think that it would not crash in Nigeria? So altogether, people have lost more than $10 billion to MMM. But what happens if the person instructed to deposit money into your account refused to deposit money? So what if the organizers are also knowingly putting their own bank account into the accounts that they tell you to deposit money to? By the way, Sergey, the founder of MMM, is presently facing another jail time, a possible 6 years behind bars. The Russian government wants to send him him back to prison because they are really concerned by all the things that he's doing all over the world. The government of Russia in March of this year just signed a new law against all the organizers of Ponzi scheme, which is what this guy is doing. Before now, Ponzi scheme is actually not a crime in Russia. That's how he was able to get this far. So Russia is really concerned about what he's doing. Meanwhile, Nigerians are now photoshopping CNN news headlines and international news headlines in order to promote MMM. This is the original screenshot that was photoshopped. You guys can see the difference. What they did was they changed the original headline, and this is another one that they changed. You can see what the original headline says, but yet some people would believe this, and now they are saying that Buhari is also advocating for MMM. And I'm like, why? He's not the first person to do this, by the way. There's an American that did a similar thing, Bernie Madoff. I'm sure you guys know about him, and he's now serving like 150 years. By the way, calling the world, I should warn you, people will attack you for talking about MMM, just so you know. Not me, but you. But you know, I have to address this so that the day it will crash in Nigeria, nobody will say, Adeola, how come you didn't warn us? You guys know I don't know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.